Hi everyone and welcome back. Imagine this. The Azure MFA service is down, so nobody can log in. Your higher management is screaming for a fix, and you try to access one of the admin portals using the emergency account or your break the glass account, and you realize that you cannot do this either. Why is that? Because Microsoft is now enforcing the use of MFA, even though you don't have any conditional access policy applied, whenever you try to access any of the Microsoft admin portals. So how do we provide multi-factor authentication when the multi-factor service is down or doesn't work? In this episode, I'm not just gonna show you how to configure a FIDO2 key. So watch until the end because I'm gonna crack open an identity token and I'm gonna show you the exact line of JSON code that proves how we can legally satisfy the Azure MFA requirement without even touching the broken cloud service. So let's get started. Before we dive in, let's highlight the fact that Microsoft provides a 99.999% SLA on all tenants. This means less than a second a day, 26 seconds a month, or 5 minutes per year, which is quite impressive. So a downtime of the MFA service is highly unlikely. But let's see what the user experience is whenever we want to log into an admin portal with a break the glass account for which we do not apply any conditional access policies. So an account which is excluded from MFA. As you can see on the screen, after providing my password, I get a prompt to provide MFA. I satisfy that and I am allowed to log in. So I was mentioning that Microsoft has started enforcing the use of MFA to accessing the admin portals a while ago, and this applies to pretty much all the Microsoft admin portals. So this applies, it is being enforced for all user accounts, no matter whether you're an admin or not. Let me go back to my Entra portal and use the what if capability of the conditional access policies. So I select the account with which I just connected. I choose the Azure Resource Manager portal, so the Azure portal, and I try to access from a Windows machine and from a browser. When I click the what if, I can confirm that there are no policies being applied for this account. Checking the policies that will not apply, I can see that 4 of them are on. So next to requiring MFA for all users, I am enforcing MFA for my admins and for whoever is accessing a Microsoft admin portal. Yet my break the glass account is excluded from all these policies, so no CA policy should apply. Now let's see the login experience one more time, but this time by grabbing the token and investigating it. So I started the developer tools. I'm looking for a token in particular, and I go through the login experience one more time. In this particular login, I am providing the password just as I did before. I am supposed to not be using MFA. However, Microsoft is enforcing it behind the scenes and you cannot avoid this whenever you access any admin portal, the Entra one being one of them. So I'm grabbing a token. Let me stop the tracing right here. And I will copy paste this particular access token and we're gonna use the jwt.io portal to dive into it. Let me paste the token right here and I scroll down to the authentication method references part of the token. I can see that both a password and an MFA claim were included into the AMR section of this token because Entra has issued them once I logged in and I proved that I am who I claim to be. Let me go to the security info blade of my break the glass account and configure a FIDO2 key, and then go through this login experience once again to see the difference. So I'm choosing to configure a passkey using my authenticator app. Fast forward through the process. I get this configured on my phone, and now I have the ability to log in using a passkey instead of a password and the authenticator app. So let's see this in action. Once again, in this particular login, I use the password and MFA. In the next one, we're gonna use a passkey and see the difference. So let's dive right in. We're gonna capture the trace, we look for a token, and we see how the whole experience looks like. So once I enter my username, you can see that now I have the option to log in using a fingerprint, a PIN, or a passkey. So I am going to use the passkey that I previously configured, and I'm logging in, and as you can see, I am jumping right into the portal. I land right into the Microsoft Entra portal. So I didn't get an MFA prompt anymore. Now let's investigate the token and see why this is. I grab the same field, the access token, and navigate to jwt.io. Let me paste the token in, and I scroll down to the AMR section. You see this? FIDO is the one that tells Azure AD that I used the FIDO2 security key, and it proves possession and knowledge. So the fact that I have the key and the fact that I knew the PIN to unlock my phone to access it, to sign the nonce basically. And the MFA one is because FIDO2 is a strong authentication method, so Azure automatically adds this MFA tag to my token. And this is how we satisfy the security requirement without even touching the broken MFA cloud service. Now, let's investigate the logs and see how things look like on the logging part, on the sign-in logs. The very first login was the one with when I used the password and I was prompted to use MFA. So we can see this in the logs. We can see I typed in the correct password. The next log highlights the fact that I used multi-factor, and it has been successfully completed for my Break the Glass account. So this was the initial login. Checking the authentication details tab, we can see that app requires multi-factor authentication, so there was an authentication policy being applied. But then again, this is something that has been fully enforced by Microsoft, and it does not belong to the conditional access policies that I have configured at my tenant level. And we can confirm this by navigating to the conditional access tab. And we can see that none of these existing policies have been applied to this account. Now, moving forward, investigating the other login, when I used the passkey, we can see there was a single factor authentication, and on the authentication details tab, we can see that I used a passkey for this particular login. And again, no conditional access policy has been applied. This was a single factor authentication, but the very next log highlights the exact same thing. It shows single factor, so not multi-factor as the previous one. And when you navigate to the basic info, you can see that the authentication requirement says single factor authentication. The additional details highlight the fact that the MFA requirement has been satisfied by the claim in the token. No conditional access policy has been applied, and MFA has been satisfied because I used a passkey. So there we have it. We completely bypassed the broken MFA service while still being fully Azure MFA compliant. If you found this deep dive useful, hit that subscribe button, and remember, when it comes to Azure, you always got your brother in the clouds. See you in the next one.